Hi everyone, Aaron here for Zollotech, and iOS 16.4 Beta 3 has been out for a few days. I've been using it full time on the iPhone 14 Pro Max, and I also have it on the iPad with iPadOS 16.4 Beta 3. I wanted to talk about the overall experience, my experience, and your experience based off the YouTube community poll, where at the time of this video there's over 7,000 votes and 90 comments. But first I wanted to talk about some new features and changes that have been found since the initial What's New video. We'll also talk about some news and different app updates as well, and take a look at some of your comments a little bit later. Now, the first thing is there's some new changes as far as photos goes. If you go to delete certain photos and tap delete, the actual wording has changed since previous betas or previous iOS updates. So now you'll see I selected 9 different items. It says these items will be deleted from iCloud Photos on all your devices. Before this, it would just say they'd be deleted and the action couldn't be undone. So this is a little bit of a change. There's also some changes depending on which library they're actually held within. Now, depending on the developer, if we go over to maybe Chrome or a different app, if we go and maybe share the website we're on, if the developer chooses this, you can now have the option to add this to your home screen as a bookmark. So that's something we'll get in future updates. You can do that on Safari right now. You'll see here, add to home screen. We can then add the bookmark or home link here and then go right into that. But now you'll be able to do that from a third-party app. We couldn't do that before. This is something they've updated in the code, and the apps just need to be updated to support it. So far, I haven't found apps that support it though. Bing, Chrome, Firefox, I tried all of those. So far, they haven't been updated, but I expect them to be updated in the future. Now, if we go into our settings and then we go to general and then scroll down to where we have VPN and device management, Apple's updated this a little bit. If we go into VPN, it now has some wording that says VPNs can be set up to control the routing of certain network traffic. And then there's an about section where you can learn more about this. So that's something we haven't seen before that's now in Beta 3. Beta 3 also suggests that Apple could drop NFC support from different car keys. However, the code itself tends to make it seem like certain cars won't be compatible with Apple's car key if maybe you're using the Apple Wallet and trying to use that as your car key. Certain manufacturers such as BMW and Hyundai actually support this. Maybe certain cars won't support it. So it's something that they've changed in the code, but we need to have apps updated for that as well. Also, if you're in Thailand and you go into your cellular data options, many people are now seeing 5G standalone. So this is something that T-Mobile users in the United States see, or most of them do. I actually see it. Just make sure you're on 5G auto or 5G on. If you have LTE, the option disappears. So make sure you're on that. And if you want 5G standalone, you can turn that on now. But again, that's available in other countries as well. Now, I mentioned this in the initial What's New video, but if you go into stocks, I'm seeing a splash screen over and over. I've gone into this multiple times and you'll see it just popped up again. I have a splash screen that just keeps showing. This seems to be a bug, but others are saying they have a different splash screen. So there's definitely something that's a little different here. And let me know if yours matches this, where it says market data, business news, iPhone, iPad, and Mac, and gives all this information here. Let me know that in the comments below. Now, back in settings, if we go to iCloud and go down to advanced data protection, again in the What's New video, I mentioned that this is nice and fast now. It actually was a bit laggy with Beta 2. If we go into advanced data protection, it looks like the icons are here to stay with the updated messages backup and voice memos. This is something I think points to iOS 17, I hope, where they'll actually make all of the different icons match, have more of a neomorphic design, where we have that on the Mac. So we could see these icons updated to match either the Mac and then maybe the iPad, Apple Watch, and iPhone. Hopefully that will all match in the future with maybe some other changes, as iOS 17 is said to be fairly minor. Now, as far as news this week, I did want to mention, you probably already saw this, Apple released the iPhone 14 in yellow. That's actually now available to pre-order. It should be available on 3/14 or Tuesday. And so if you have an iPhone 14 and you want one in yellow, they're now available there. Now, let me know if it's something you want me to unbox just to show you the most accurate color representation. However, it's just an iPhone 14 like this one. Instead of being blue, it's now yellow. So not a whole lot has changed, just the color change. And I think a lot of people would have appreciated different colors, maybe an orange or something else. And we didn't get Pro colors this year as well, so that was a bit disappointing. Now, something else that's new that I did a separate video on is Apple Music Classical. That's something that will be available later this month. And if we go into apps, the App Store, and we search for Apple Music Classical I'll also link it in the description, but you'll see it here. So we'll go in, give it just a moment. You'll have to scroll down typically, and you'll see it says coming soon, expected March 28th, 2023. And so you can reserve this. And if you're subscribed to Apple Music, you'll get this for free. If you're not, it's $5 a month, and it requires iOS 15.4 or later. There's no iPad app available at launch for some reason, but you can use the iOS app on there. There's not a Mac app either, but it will be coming later to Android. So it's a kind of an odd decision there. Maybe it's just not ready, but we should have it very, very, very soon. Some people have suggested March 28th or March 27th would be the date of iOS 16.4. We'll talk about that in a moment. But again, this requires iOS 15.4 or later, so that may or may not apply. There's a few significant app updates I wanted to mention, and the first one has to do with MLB, or Major League Baseball. It now supports live activities. If you go into your settings, scroll down to MLB, you'll see we now have the option for live activities. You can turn these on, allow them, and have more frequent updates. So it will give live activities of ongoing games and also probably real-time scores and more. So that's something that's nice to see. Also, if you're a T-Mobile subscriber, it looks like T-Mobile Tuesdays may give away MLB's season pass again, just like they did with Major League Soccer. So they could be giving that away. Make sure you have that T-Mobile Tuesdays app installed so you can do that. That should be coming a little bit later though. Now, if you use Google One, they're now giving an online VPN for free if you have the 2 terabyte or greater plan. So that's something that you can actually have here. It says available with premium 2 terabyte and up. So if you want a VPN, you don't have one, and you have the 2 terabyte option, you have it for free now. It's not an additional cost. Now, if we search for Mario, this past Friday was Mario Day, and Nintendo and Apple celebrated by adding a retro track to the Mario Kart Tour app, and also they've given some paid levels for free in Super Mario Run. This is in celebration as we get closer to the new Super Mario Bros. Movie. So I just wanted to make you aware if you have both of those games. Now, one other thing I wanted to mention as far as apps is Telegram. If you're using Telegram, I have a Telegram server linked in the description, as well as Discord and others, but let's go into Telegram. And if you're updated to the latest version, you'll see a new setting for power savings. There's a new power savings mode where you can customize it based on your overall battery and turn off resource-intensive processes. So autoplay videos, we've got sticker animations, preload media, background updates. You can turn all of those off if you want to save some power and control whether it's always on or just on sometimes. It's up to you. So you can enable that or disable that. But I wanted to make you aware as this can use quite a bit of power. Now, there's good news in India if you're someone that really likes Apple, but you just haven't seen a whole lot of products there. Apparently, Apple is giving India more prominence within Apple to push sales there, as a lot of different production is moving there as well. So hopefully they'll bring down prices. There won't be as heavily of a price increase there, and you'll be able to get products more reasonably. Hopefully we'll see that in the near future. The head of the global sales has recently changed in India, and that should help. So hopefully we'll see that very, very soon. A couple other things I wanted to mention is Apple is apparently still working on Face ID under the screen. So hopefully in the future this will be updated where we don't have a notch or even this dynamic island. It will just switch to under the display. Apple's working on this. However, Ross Young has said this has been pushed back a year. It was expected with iPhone 16 in 2024. Maybe we'll see it with that. Maybe we'll see it later, or maybe we'll never see it. iOS 16.4 Beta 4 could be this coming week. In fact, I would expect it to be this week, or we could even see a release candidate, but I don't think it's ready for that just yet. But I would expect iOS 16.4 Beta 4 as soon as Tuesday. We're on a weekly schedule now. As we went from Beta 2 to Beta 3, it was 1 week. Typically after that, we'll have weekly updates, and then we'll get closer to the release candidate of 16.4 and then 16.4's public release, which I would expect at this point probably around the 27th. I think that's probably accurate just because we're going to have Apple Music Classical, and while 16.4 is not required, that's usually how Apple does updates. So we could see that along with the watchOS, iPadOS, macOS, HomePodOS, and tvOS updates as well. Then we'll move on to iOS 16.5. I would expect that probably the first week of April, where we have iOS 16.5 Beta 1. We should expect minor updates until we get to iOS 17, which should be shown at WWDC in the first week of June. The Worldwide Developer Conference is usually held then, and that's when they'll show off the next OS, which is expected to be minor, maybe some icon changes, maybe some stability updates, but no one is really expecting anything big as Apple's been working on that AR/VR headset and Reality OS. So it looks like they're moving focus to that for now, but we'll have to wait and see. Hopefully those rumors are wrong and we have something major that we weren't expecting. Now let's talk about the overall experience of iOS 16.4 Beta 4, because in my opinion, we have one step forward, two steps back, and it was good for a while, but then again, we have some issues. So it looks like it's good in some areas, not so great in others. For example, there's improvements as far as no slowdowns so far for me. Swiping is fast, ProMotion is super smooth, no issues there for me, whether it's an old or new device, and the swipe home bug is completely gone for me. So if we go into music, we'll go in and just play a song here. Let's go in, play a song, swipe home. You'll see it had a little bit of a bug there, but it's not stuttery. It's not really slow. It's nice and smooth as we go into it. Again, nice and smooth. So no issues there. That's been great for me. And typically after a few days, it would slow down. I haven't had that with Beta 2 and still haven't had it with Beta 3. So that's great news. As far as Safari, well, that's been a little bit better for me. Even though Private Relay is on, the overall experience for me has improved, where it was really slow to load. Things were just really buggy there. Now it seems to be much better. Things are loading as expected, and it seems to be working okay. So I haven't heard too many issues with that, but there are still people that have issues with it. As far as photos and their improvements, well, a lot of people have been asking about that, whether or not photos are good in sort of semi-bright environments or indoor environments. So let's go ahead and turn off the lights here, the main lights, see if this looks exactly like it does on the screen here. So let me go ahead and take a screenshot and swipe that out of the way, and let's take a photo. And let's see if it's any different. Since we have RAW turned off, it's not going to process anything in the background, so hopefully it's improved. Let me know what you think about that, though, in the comments below. Now, as far as bugs that are still remaining, well, some of them have gotten worse. So the small battery widget you may have already recognized, and you'll see here, I did want to mention, I'm not seeing squared off notifications anymore. That has gone away for me. So I didn't see them really with Beta 2 very much, and now they're completely gone for me. So I'm not sure if you're still having that issue, but before they were squared off and then they would round after a little while. Now it seems to be fixed for me. But as you can see here, the small battery widget doesn't show anything in it as far as what it pertains to. So the glyph has been missing. So if we go in and maybe customize here, we'll go in and maybe get rid of one of these. Even the Tesla app doesn't have the glyph for some reason. So you can add it. Doesn't seem to make any sense, but it's gone and hopefully it returns soon. So far, it's not very great that way. So hopefully that'll improve in the next beta. That needs to be reported. Also, some have reported their banking apps have stopped working. That typically happens every year, but not with an OS as it reaches later betas or later versions. So that seems to be an issue still. Also, when I first installed iOS 16.4 Beta 3, I recorded the What's New video, and then later that day, I noticed a major issue. Apps wouldn't open on the first time. So if I'd go into an app, it just would be completely blank and not work. I can show you what it looks like as I have a screen recording. As you can see, this is the screen recording. Let me press play. I opened up music and I had just a blank screen. I'd open it again and it would work. Then I'd go back in, it would be fine. And if I closed out of it, it would actually do that all over again. So this is a problem that seemed to be happening over and over. I had to fully reboot my phone in order to get it to work, and I heard others having the same issue. Also, Bluetooth is spotty again. It doesn't work well in my truck. It actually connects fine to my AirPods, but then they crackle and they have all sorts of connectivity issues. So definitely some issues there. Also, everything else seemed to be okay for me, but many complained about overall connectivity, whether that's cellular or Wi-Fi. I was hearing that it was just not great for some, where it wasn't clear, things weren't working as expected. So there's definitely some issues in this update. As far as the overall battery life of my phone, well, I haven't really noticed, so hopefully that means it's pretty good. Let's go ahead and check. Battery health is 98%, and as you can see here with coconut battery, I had 129 cycles, and it continues to be used regularly day by day. So it's working okay, but as far as getting me through the day, well, yesterday I had 3 hours and 28 minutes of screen active time, 15 hours and 32 minutes of screen idle time for some reason. There's still a lot of screen idle time, and I used almost 70% of my battery. It's not really that great. Today, 2 hours and 41 minutes of screen active time, 8 hours and 46 minutes of screen idle time, used about 30%. Much better battery life today, but again, it's really weird and it's sometimes great, sometimes it's not. Performance-wise, like I mentioned, it's nice and fast and smooth, other than those odd issues with different apps not opening properly. It's been fine since then. And as far as the overall heat of the device, it's staying nice and cool. It's not really that hot, and it's not too much of an issue, but I did want to share that as many of you asked me to. And as you can see, at the hottest point right now, it's at 27.5 degrees Celsius, and that turns out to be about 85 degrees Fahrenheit. So 85.6 is the highest I'm seeing. So it's not super warm. I've seen much worse in the past. It's staying nice and cool, even doing intensive tasks. Now, many of you have asked me, why does it get hot at all? Well, Apple has always let their processors run hot, whether that's a Mac or an iPhone or something else. It's not really any concern, as they will regulate the temperature. And also, for those of you wondering about iOS 16.3.2, well, so far we haven't seen that. We saw 16.3.2 and 0.3 for tvOS, but so far nothing for iOS. So it looks like we haven't really heard anything about that. So I would wait for 16.4 to come out. As far as the overall YouTube community poll, let's take a look at that and some of your comments. One tech head said, iOS 16.4 Beta 3 is running pretty smoothly on my iPhone 13. While I had initially experienced a minor issue with the battery widget not displaying my AirPods battery status, it appears to have been resolved. Overall, I'm pretty satisfied with the performance of this beta. Now I'm looking forward to Apple Pay being launched in South Korea soon. Keep up the great work, Karen. Thank you. NevHawk117 says, iOS 16.4 Beta 3 on iPhone 14 Pro. The only ongoing issue I've experienced is non-Apple accessories not working with the new home architecture, which I assume will remain until iOS 16.4 is publicly released. Other than that, it's been a solid, though not necessarily perfect, update. Also, those accessories may need to be updated as well with some firmware. We'll have to wait and see. Stacy Gray 4731 said, I only installed 16.4 Public Beta 3 on my 14 Pro yesterday, but initial impressions are that the OS in general seems much smoother in general when compared to 16.3.1. No issues with any apps or stuttering, and whilst it's too soon to comment on battery life, that seems fine. As for battery health, that's still 100%. Could it be that iOS has finally become more stable again? Let's hope so. Sanitizer says, iOS 16.4 Beta 3 is pretty good, but there is a small bug I discovered in the screen time settings, where it doesn't load and the loading icon is displaced a few pixels down where it's supposed to be. It happens pretty frequently, but not all the time. The battery on Beta 3 is slightly worse than Beta 2, which had excellent battery life, probably one of my favorite beta updates in a long time. And so that's everything with iOS 16.4 Beta 3. Not a whole lot more to talk about. We're getting less and less features as Apple's refining this and getting ready to release to the public. But if you've found anything else, though, I'd love to hear from you in the comments below. And of course, I'll link this wallpaper in the description like I normally do. If you haven't subscribed already, though, please subscribe. And if you enjoyed the video, please give it a like. As always, thanks for watching. This is Aaron. I'll see you next time. For those of you that listened this far into the video, no, I didn't have music this time, but I've been changing the music regularly. Do you like me to change up the music regularly, or would you prefer that I actually use the same music over and over? Let me know in the comments below, and again, thanks for watching.